You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio site where you can listen to the X-Zone 724-365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Diane Pomerance. She is the author of 9 books, 7 of which are nonfiction about animals. She has a deep love and profound respect for nature and all living creatures, and she writes and speaks of the interconnectedness and independence of the whole of life. Now, she is an ardent animal lover and advocate who has rescued, rehabilitated, and adopted more than 46 dogs over the past decades. She is deeply involved with animal welfare and environment. But tonight we're going to be talking to Dr. Diane about Katherine, a woman of vision, learning from one of history's most gifted spiritual teachers. Now, Dr. Diane met renowned spiritual teacher Katherine Hayward through a friend in Los Angeles when she was 28 and Hayward was 79. Their connection was immediate, and Dr. Pomerance became her student and ultimately her protege. The wisdom, spiritual vision, and philosophy imparted by Hayward mesmerized Dr. Pomerance, and she simply knew that Hayward's life story was one that needed sharing. Katherine, a woman of vision, is set to be released sometime this fall. And joining me now is Dr. Diane Pomerance, who we've had the great pleasure of having on the show before. And Diane, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Hi, Rob. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Hey, first of all, my friend, congratulations on your new book.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Tell me about it. What's the story behind the story here, Diane?
Oh, there are so many stories behind the story. I have been a student of spirituality since the age of 14 and a half when I read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Mm-hmm. And a dear friend of mine introduced me to that book, and then also to an Indian guru up in Toronto, Canada, your turf, or closer to your turf.
Close to our turf.
And, pardon?
I said very close to our turf, just 30 minutes down the Queen Elizabeth Highway.
There you go, there you go. And he was a guru of Sat Mat, and that's S-A-N-T-M-A-T. And I was so intrigued, and I had a lot of close encounters with this guru, which everyone made a real big deal about. They said, oh, you must be very gifted, you must be very special to be so close. I was in the elevator with a man. I was in seminars. I was in his classes and his workshops, and it was an extraordinary experience. And I said, one day I'm going to India, and I'm going to really explore what life is about. But in the interim, I explored many other different religions, ranging from Catholicism to Zen Buddhism to Hinduism to Zoroastrianism to Taoism to Sufi, Subud, and even more esoteric religions than that. So I was very much a student of life and wondering, searching for the meaning and the significance of life on Earth and why we were all here. And so I read voraciously, and ultimately, when I was 28, and as you mentioned, Katherine was 79, I moved to Los Angeles for what I thought was an advancement in my career in the entertainment industry. And I ran into a dear college friend of mine, and she had changed for the better. And I said, Michelle, to what do you attribute this remarkable change? And she said, I have a teacher, a spiritual teacher, and you must meet her. She's charming and really, really magnetic and interesting, and she studied all the religions and traveled all over the world, and she's a psychic, medium, healer, clairvoyant, visionary, mystic, and on and on and on. And she didn't have to really convince me. I said, I'm sold. And Michelle said, well, you know, she has free public meetings at her bungalow in West Hollywood. And I had just moved to West Hollywood, and it turned out I lived a couple of miles away from Katherine. And surely one Sunday morning, I met Michelle, my friend, at Katherine's home. And it was a Jane Marple, if you know who that is, an Agatha Christie detective, as it were, an elderly woman, genteel, who was all about chintz and floral and mysteries, of course, but you know, landscapes and England, a touch of England, antiques, etc. And I attended a meeting at Katherine's home, and I listened to her, and the meeting was scheduled at 11 o'clock. At 11:59, Katherine assumed her chair, her throne, whatever you want to call it, and I was sitting directly opposite her, and I remember her saying very calmly and matter-of-factly, there were probably about 35 people there, and that people kept coming in. I don't know why, they just kept coming in, and there was standing room only, and Katherine said things like, there is no death. You couldn't die if you wanted to. The real you is immortal. The real you is not the mind or the body, but the power that motivates the mind and the body. And she taught that life on earth is a school, and we're all here at varying grade levels, but we're here to evolve spiritually in the tradition of the great saints, sages, and teachers of all time, i.e. Jesus, Muhammad, and on, and oh my goodness, Mahatma Gandhi in current times, and Mother Teresa, etc. But that's our destiny. That's ultimately where we're headed. And every single thing she said, she taught reincarnation, that we came back in many, 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 many different lives as male and female, rich and poor, sick and healthy, and so on. And everything she said, it's like I had a little checklist. And I said, I know that. I don't know how I know that, but I know that. That's right. And so I was very intrigued. And from there on, I made an appointment with Ms. Hayward, and she was very feisty. And I don't know if you know who the actress Judi Dench is.
No, I don't.
Well, she's M in the James Bond movies, very authoritative woman, and she was in the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, and she's very British, aristocratic, authoritative, deep contralto, British accent, and she could have been Katherine's sister. They were very slight, and about this, when I met Katherine, as I said, she was 79. And she had just charm and charisma and feistiness and great spirit and great knowledge. And I knew I wanted to study with this woman. And so I made an appointment with her. And as I attempted to make the appointment, she said, "You've got the money?" And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Do you have the fee? It's $35 for an hour session." Of course, this was in the 1970s. So... And I said, well, yes, I do. And from there on, I started studying with her and learned tremendously.
How has her entering your life changed your life?
Oh, it's transformed my life. Katherine was the pivotal catalyst, as it were, to get me researching in a much different way than I had before. She had an out-of-the-body experience at the age of 7 years old. And at 7, she recalled communicating with angels, angelic beings, as she called them. And she'd had double pneumonia and pleurisy, which in rural Wales in 1899, which is when she was born, in rural Wales, medical technology obviously was not very sophisticated. And at any rate, at the age of 7, she recalled her mother sobbing and the angels telling her to go back into the body, and so she did. And once she had re-entered the physical body, she awoke, and she felt very peculiar, very odd, and she spoke in a full, mature adult voice at the age of 7, and knew past, present, and future. And she just talked and made predictions and knew people and knew when they were lying and knew when they were telling the truth and knew the outcome of local elections and just could anticipate future events, which was shocking because the witchcraft laws were in operation at that time period. So her family kept telling her to hush, don't talk about these things. And at one particular event, there was a dinner at her home, and her uncle had booked passage on the Titanic. And she had said, Uncle, please unbook your passage. It's not safe. It's not right. And he listened to her, and of course, the rest is history. We all know what happened to the Titanic.
You said that life on Earth is a school. Can you elaborate on that, please?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, I can. Yes. Life on Earth is a school wherein all of us souls incarnate into the dense physical matter of the physical realm of existence, and we're here to ultimately achieve what all the great saints and sages and masters of all time have achieved. That's our destiny. That's our God seed, whatever you prefer to call it, but that's our destiny, just as the acorn turns into the oak. And we are here for many, 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 many different lifetimes to experience all that we need to experience so that we ultimately achieve mastery over the physical, over the emotional, etc., and that we're all here at different grade levels, so that simultaneously some of us are in preschool, some of us are in kindergarten, some of us are in graduate school, some of us are in postgraduate school. And so it made a lot of sense to me that how do you explain, the inequities of life, and that someone is born to wealth and power and prestige and others are born babies with AIDS, and I worked on a documentary about babies with AIDS, and how do you justify that? And it made all the sense in the world that we're here to learn and to grow spiritually and to ultimately achieve equanimity, balance of life, and to take all that comes with that equanimity, that balance, that acceptance and gratitude that we are here and able to learn these lessons of life.
So where do we go once we've graduated the Earth School?
We don't go here anymore.
Thank heavens.
Exactly. We explore other realms of existence. And Katherine also taught that all life is energy, and that we operate at different rates of vibration. So it makes all the sense in the world that there may be beings that interpenetrate and interconnect with us, albeit we don't see them or hear them with the senses, just as, 150 to 200 years ago, we hadn't the remotest, the foggiest idea that light waves and sound waves existed, because we couldn't see or perceive them. But they did exist, didn't they? So she taught that all life is energy operating at different rates of vibration, and that that we are here at a certain place in the scheme of things to learn what we need to learn through a physical body and a dense physical reality, meaning planet Earth.
So if the masses were to grasp what Katherine has taught you, and you are able to get this information out to the masses, how will this affect a person's religious philosophical views?
It affects them profoundly, because we recognize that there's no judgment, that we cannot judge another. We do not know where they've been or where they're going. We do not know what lives they've lived or their karma, their past, what violent episodes existed in their lives, what brutality they've exhibited to another human being, what harm, what hurt they've caused another. And so we cannot judge another human being. We cannot walk unless we walk in their shoes. We really cannot judge. And so, therefore, and again, Mahatma Gandhi and these various individuals throughout who have encouraged peace, the Buddha, they understand that we are all at various grade levels, and there's no point in punishing a preschooler just because the preschooler is a preschooler and behaves accordingly. That we understand that they are in their growth process, and they're undergoing the experiences and the feelings, the emotions, the behaviors that come with that territory. And so ultimately, we're non-judgmental, and I think that makes all the difference in the world in terms of planetary peace and harmony, etc.
So is the School of Earth the only school, or are there other schools?
Oh, no, there are many other schools. And again, through Katherine, through Katherine's teachings and experiences with phenomena and the paranormal, etc., she learned from spirit beings directly that, again, life is continuous, that it's almost a hologram, that there are so many spheres of life and light interpenetrating one another, and that we grow simultaneously, and we also grow chronologically in terms of our development, our understanding of what life on Earth is about.
Have you been in contact with Spirit, and if so, what has Spirit told you?
Well, through Katherine, definitely I've been in contact with Spirit. And Katherine was a medium, and although she didn't call herself a deep trance medium, she was able to change voice and behavior and mannerisms in accordance with whoever wanted to communicate to me. And that was an astounding experience, and I experienced that many, many times during my period of study with Katherine. And they always were optimistic, and they always indicated that all is well, and that thoughts and things are very, very powerful, and that as we think, we create. And that our words are very powerful, and as we think peace, we contribute to creating that peace. And so Katherine had peace groups that met at her home 2 or 3 times a week. I was there. I was the most diligent student you ever knew. I was there with my my big yellow notepad, taking notes, because I was just so mesmerized and intrigued by all of this, because, again, I had maybe intuitively grasped this information, but it was the first time I had heard it spoken and seen it as a witness to, oh my gosh, Katherine's someone else, and she's one of her spirit guides, one of which was Bright Eyes, another which was Maria Teresa. And she spoke from these different levels, and again, displayed mannerisms, and it was nothing theatrical as you might think. It was nothing ostentatious or flamboyant. It was just a different manifestation of Katherine and who she was. And these teachings all taught that we are immortal and that we continue to live. And, of course, when Katherine was born, which was 1899 in rural Wales, we witnessed World Wars I and II. And so Katherine, knowing that there was no death, was a powerful means of comfort and support and solace to those who had lost loved ones. And she did this by communicating with so-called dead people, the sixth sense. She was in communication, close communication, and such convincing information that no one else could have possibly known how the person had died, where the person was, the idiosyncrasies, etc.
Tell me, Diane, if we each
Yes, Rob.
if we each create as we think or think as we create, how is it then that we are all different, thinking differently, creating differently, and yet seems to work out somehow?
Well, this explains our current situation worldwide, doesn't it? Worldwide. I mean, we all think differently. We are not of one accord.
Right.
We are not in harmony. We are not praying for peace. There are people that are greedy, that are hungry for money and power and position, and who are arrogant, and the last thing they think about is the environment or climate change, and don't get me started. But they're not responsive or sensitive or empathic enough to understand that the earth is a living, breathing organism.
Mm-hmm.
It's life itself, and that we need to treat it with respect, appreciation, and love, as we do with one another. And the tenets of every religion I've studied are basically the same, the basic tenets: love and respect all living creatures and one another.
So is there
Doesn't get simpler than that.
No, it's a very nice, simple philosophy, but tell me, is there a God?
Yes, of course. Who created you? Where'd you come from?
My mother.
Okay, and where'd she come from?
Her mother.
Her mother. Okay, again, we do not have an explanation for the ultimate creation of life itself and the creation of earth and the trees and all the various creatures on the earth, and the variety of creatures on the earth. So there is a creative force, call it what you will. It can be God, it can be the creative force, it can be the creator of the word, et cetera, et cetera. But there is some power that is responsible for all life.
Well, doesn't the scientific community believe they have all the answers to creation?
And they're coming in our direction. They're believing more and more with neuroplasticity and the flexibility of the mind and how much change can occur by means of our thoughts and prayers and our words. So it actually is becoming very, very approachable and accessible to spirituality. We understand that meditation has very positive results in relaxing ourselves and lowering our blood pressure, etc. So the scientific community is kind of catching up with this spirituality.
Have we outgrown our need for established religions?
I think we have.
Yeah.
I think we have. I think we're thinking independently. I have many, many dear, dear friends who are lapsed Lutherans, lapsed Catholics, and so on, and lapsed Jews, etc. And by lapsed, I mean they think beyond the box. They think independently. They study a lot of religions and religious philosophies, etc., and they draw their own conclusions, and they find that it works effectively for them. And so I think that's what's happening more and more and more. And, of course, we're hearing so much more about these ideas, these concepts, these, people not going to churches regularly as they used to, that people are really finding spirituality as opposed to religion.
The world is in chaos these days. You have
think?
Oh, I know that for a fact. You have what's going on in the China Sea. You've got North Korea with the nuclear capability to cause global annihilation. You have Russia that is flexing its muscle. You have the problems in Iran, the Iran nuclear deal. You have total unrest, civil unrest. You've got people in Israel that are just stabbing the heck out of cops, out of security guards, and it seems that it's all based on religion.
Well, again, I think these are growing pains. I think we're experiencing an adolescence where everything is a target and people are questioning everything. I was in Israel and Egypt right before the Arab Spring, and it was tangible, the environment of divisiveness and hatred and conflict. And I was in Palestine, and I could not believe that, the closed access to Palestine and the Palestinian peoples, et cetera, and I felt it in the atmosphere. It was clear, it was palpable, and I thought, I got to get out of here. This is really bad, and I just intuitively felt that there was a lot of conflict, a lot of questioning going on, and I think that's what's happening now, and I think that we're at the beginning of, and I don't want to be cliche about this, but we are at the beginning of a new era of people expanding in consciousness and awareness and developing their true potential. And all of this is simultaneously. I mean, we're experiencing more and more within the last 5 to 10 years. Then it's unprecedented that people are really searching to explore their own potential and find out how expansive they truly are.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Dr. Diane Pomerance. Her new book, Katherine, A Woman of Vision, Learning from One of History's Most Gifted Spiritual Teachers. We'll both be back on the other side of this commercial break in 3 minutes as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Send me your emails. I love reading them at xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com.
Dr. Carl O. Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Diane Pomerance is our special guest. Her new book, Katherine, A Woman of Vision by Dr. Pomerance, is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and her website at www.drdianepomerance.com. How does this new knowledge that you have, that you've studied so hard to get, how does this change your feeling about death, dying? Why do we fear it if it's a natural progression of spirituality?
Because we're socialized to fear it. And it's so sad because there are other countries, if you go to Ireland and Italy and you experience a wake or a funeral, it's a celebration of life as well as a time for mourning. But you have that mixture of, we've loved this person, we celebrate and honor this person or animal or whatever it might be that you've lost. And I think in the United States we've been very inhibited and very self-conscious in terms of talking about our true feelings, and that's because of the way that we've been socialized. Death is not a pretty subject. Grief is not a pretty subject, and I'm a grief counselor as well. So I deal with this all the time, of people embarrassed or ashamed to really talk about their feelings, their authentic feelings, their genuine feelings, for fear of being judged as weak, unable to handle the situation. You know, the whole pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality. And of course, that's not what we're about authentically at all. We are made of joy and sorrow, and we're meant to experience all of the above and respond to all of the above.
There was an old saying when I was growing up, because my dad's Irish. The only difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish wake is one less drunk.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
They celebrate life.
Exactly. And that's something that we have not learned to do in our puritanical society, and it's very unfortunate because people harbor these feelings of pain and despair and disappointment and guilt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if we would just open up and be honest and be able to be comfortable talking about our feelings, we'd be so much more progressive.
Is it healthier for a person who is going through the grieving process to look at the person's life in a positive light, or in the light that this person is going to be missed and the negative side of it?
Both.
Really?
It's both important, because you're feeling the negative. You're feeling that void. And there is a genuine void. It's not made up. There's a genuine missing of the physical being of that being. And so they're both very important. However, to honor and celebrate, and I always advise people to take time, don't make any life-changing decisions. Give yourself time to mourn and reflect and appreciate and be thankful for the experience of knowing this wonderful person, and that you've been profoundly blessed. This person has been a teacher to you, regardless of how you may view it on a conscious level. Deep down inside, there's been a purposefulness to this relationship, and honor that person has contributed to your life.
What was your high point in writing your book, Dr. Katherine, Woman of Vision?
Getting it finished. That was the high point. Oh, I was tethered to my computer. Please. No, the high point was, of course, my experience with Katherine. We experienced a deep bond and friendship, and I have 200 audio cassettes of our interviews together, which we did at Malibu on the beach and the shore, and we picnicked, and of course. We took it seriously, very seriously, the content, but we loved one another, and we took great joy out of being in nature and seeing the ocean and experiencing the beauty of nature and so on. So there are so many high points, but ultimately the high point was knowing Katherine and meeting someone like her that had explored and researched and was such a joyous, feisty, fun-loving woman who is very profoundly serious about her work and her spiritual work. And so it was, overall, it was just a remarkable experience that I will cherish forever and ever and ever.
What would you say is the most profound lesson that you learned from Katherine?
To keep on keeping on, to persevere. She'd been through many hardships, as I have been through my life, and but to keep that faith in yourself and in life, and to pursue your dream as best you can. And although we may stumble and falter, that's part of the process. We learn from every experience and everyone with whom we encounter. So I think all of those things have been really pivotal to my learning experience.
Are there spirits and guides around to help us, to guide us?
Yes, they are. And if we're receptive to them, and meditation is a great way of accessing them, just attuning ourselves to a higher vibration. Remember, all life is energy being operating at different rates of vibration. And these angelic beings, these guides, operate on a much higher vibration than we. And I remember Katherine in the early years of her experimentation with spirit beings, they always insisted that they sing hymns and elevate the vibration from the mundane, the ordinary of everyday life, and elevate their thoughts and aspirations, and that they would attract the higher spirit beings, the hierarchy. So that kind of remained with me, that here you elevate your consciousness and raise your vibration to be in communication, to receive the highest and the best.
Are spirit beings the same as angels?
No, they are not. They're different, hierarchically easy for me to say, and they're just a different kind of genre. No, our spirit beings are connected to us often through many, many lifetimes, and know us intimately, and know our aspirations, and they know our karma, the law of cause and effect, and they assist us in dealing with that karma and overcoming any negative karma and going for the positive. So it's that old image of, the devil on one side and the angel on another, that they offer us the possibilities, the potential of taking the high road in life.
How has your experience with Katherine aided you in the great work that you do with animals?
I was with animals before I ever met Katherine. I adored them, and they have taught me so much. And the bottom line of all of it, all the teachings, all the spirit beings, all the angels, is to behave in the highest and the best way you know how, and to do the best we can at any given moment in time. And no one can ask more of you than that. And if we could do any better, I was thinking when I wrote this book, if I were Shakespeare, I'd be writing Shakespearean work. But I'm me, and I'm doing the best I know how to do as me. And so it's that and an understanding that we are all doing the very best we know how to do at any given moment in time. And if we knew how to be better, we'd be better. Yeah.
It's all part of the learning process.
Exactly.
Doctor, doing this show now for 25 years, there is one message that resonates throughout each and every guest. And the secret to life is not really a secret. It's all you need is love.
It is so true. And it may sound like a cliche, but genuinely it's gratitude, love, acceptance. It's how you react to what life presents you. And if you can achieve equanimity and balance through all that, and I've been through a whole lot of loss, and as a grief counselor, dealt with other people's loss. And again, it's all in how you utilize that as a lesson and experience. And I know that sounds really, shallow or superficial to be able to do that.
I don't think that sounds shallow at all. I think it sounds realistic.
But it's the opportunity to grow and to become further independent and to depend on your resources and your creativity and your resilience as a human being, and to go to God and to know that God is there for you. And again, whatever you consider God to be, the creative force, the power that's created, all that is, etc., however you may view it. But,
It's rather amazing when I see people, and I have the pleasure of talking to them, and they're saying, I was going to do this, but I started and I failed, and I realized that wasn't for me. And I say, what you were given was a lesson, because without failing, there is no success.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. That you need to experience the other in order to truly appreciate the success, so-called. And success is obviously a subjective, relative term. What success to one person is not success to another. If you're on a spiritual path and you're a Buddhist monk or whatever it might be, material success is the last thing that you're praying for or working toward. You're wanting to experience spiritual enlightenment, unity, harmony, peace among all human beings, and for that matter, with the animal kingdom and the world as a whole.
I believe that each and every one of us has a piece of the jigsaw puzzle to life in our pocket. And what we need to do is each of us come up to this big table and put our piece of that jigsaw puzzle on the table, and working together, put the puzzle together. And I think that this is what people like you and Katherine were doing. You're saying, here's my piece to the puzzle, here's Katherine's piece to the puzzle, and based on what we know, what we've learned, here are other pieces. Now you, the reader, add your piece.
And each is a respectable, important piece.
Right.
There's not one that's greater or higher or more important than the other. We need all the pieces. And it is, I agree with you that that's a great analogy, that here we are, and the only problem is that often arrogance or hubris or whatever it might be interfere, and we place ourselves in a position that's higher than or better than. And I found that to be true with the animal world. Here we've assumed that we are so superior to these animals. They're just lowly, they're our chattel, etc. And they are so much more. The dolphins, the whales, the elephants, my God, they're incredibly adept and social and caring and loving and communicate beyond anything we comprehend at this point in time. So we cannot judge. We presume to judge, and we think we're so great. And here we are, all these animals at the verge of extinction, which is unpardonable. It's just unpardonable in my opinion. But that's what's happening. We are reaping the consequences of our thoughts and words and actions.
That's right. And if we have been given this domain to take care of, we have failed.
Guardianship.
Yeah.
That's what's intended. It's not domination. If there were domination, it would have been spelled as domination.
Well, we have failed miserably. Is it too late?
No. As I said, we are in our adolescent period, and I truly believe that we who are gifted with the ability to perceive the importance, the significance, the interconnectedness, the interdependence of all life, have the opportunity to reach those who may not understand, but we can teach them, and they can learn from us. And There are many people out there in third world countries teaching empowerment to indigenous peoples, etc., and not condemning them or, again, judging them as inferior. We have this tendency to think that we're so superior. These peoples, and I've been to Africa several times, and Australia, New Zealand, and communicated with many indigenous peoples, and they are so sophisticated spiritually. That's the extraordinary thing. They're attuned to Mother Nature. They're attuned to the needs of the planet, the nurturing that the planet requires, the respect and appreciation it requires.
You know, whatever happened to the good old saying, it's time to stop and smell the roses. Now it's time to recharge your handheld device.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now, what are all these handheld devices doing to Mother Nature with all the RF frequencies, with all the microwave frequencies? What is it doing to the animals, Doctor?
I think it's having a profound impact upon them and their ability to thrive. And we've killed off, or on the verge of killing off, so many species. It's disgraceful and dishonorable. And I think we really, really need a wake-up call. And I truly believe that a lot of what's happening to Mother Earth, affecting all of us, I mean, the floods and the fires and the
earthquakes,
my God, all the different apocalyptic so-called events that are occurring, these are wake-up calls. These are people. Hello, Mother Earth here.
Exactly.
You're not doing a good job. You need to be taking care and respecting and cherishing and acknowledging our importance. That these are wake-up calls, and the people that have lost their homes and their possessions are definitely learning. It's not about that. It's life is not about that. It's not about owning things. It's about fortitude and patience and perseverance and helping one another. And you hear so many stories about people coming together in times of cataclysm and disaster. And this is the time where they're really drawn to help one another. So that outcome is great. The more we do that, hey, the better we all are.
So where do we start, Doctor? You've written a great book. You're getting the message out there. I've had the pleasure of having you on the show before. You're a great lady. I know what you do with animals, and I love animals, and I applaud you for what you're doing.
I know you do, yes.
And so where do we go from here? How can we all get onto this bandwagon and make a difference?
We go one day at a time, and we cautiously, mindfully use our words and our thoughts. Instead of negativity, we transmute that into something that's positive. And as you were about to issue a negative comment about how horrible everything is, you kind of use that discipline to transmute it into something positive, that we're progressing. We are growing, we are evolving, we're becoming stronger and wiser and happier and healthier. And there are ways, it requires a lot of discipline, and I'm not pretending it doesn't. But it just demands that we spend time in quietude, where we can appreciate nature and the gifts that have been bestowed upon us, and the trees, especially this time of year.
Yes.
It's so easy to do. It's so accessible to see the beauty, the magnificence of Mother Nature, and to recognize that there's a force beyond ours that creates and if we use it positively, it can benefit us in every way. We all know, in agriculture, and we used to be an agrarian society, etc., that, the agriculture, the earth, we depend upon it, and it depends upon us for appreciation and respect and nurturing. And we just, in so many ways, disregarded that. And so we're on our way. With every program that you do, you're helping illumine people. And that's the best that you can do. That's a great thing. And with every book I write and with every interview I do and, And with every speaking engagement, that's what I attempt to do. And that's all we really pretty much can do.
We can just do our best.
That's it.
Doctor, what are your final thoughts for the Exo Nation tonight?
Think about the future of the planet and be grateful for what you have now. Take moments every single day to think about 2 or 3 different things for which you have gratitude. And know that this gratitude extends and extends and extends and draws more things to be grateful to you. And think positively and visualize the world at peace and people in harmony with one another and benefiting one another and educating one another.
And loving one another.
And loving one another, bottom line.
Doctor, can you let our listeners know how they can get your book? And once again, give them your website.
Oh, sure. It's on Amazon.com as about 3 weeks ago, and it's brand new. And Kindle, and certainly through my website. And if people want more information about my philosophies, etc., and my background, it might be interesting reading. It might not be, but it might be interesting reading. And it's drdianepomerance.com.
Anyone who listened to you tonight, Doctor, around the world, will know it's very interesting, and you are doing something wonderful, and keep the great work up, Doctor.
And you as well.
Take care of yourself, Doctor. Always great talking to you. Bye-bye now.
Same here.
Exo Nation,
Thanks
Dr.
so much.
Diane Pomerance, a great lady, has been my guest this hour. www.drdianepomerance.com. And her new book, Katherine, A Woman of Vision, is also available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and of course, once again at drdianepomerance.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.